This is Copilots, the podcast where we watch not just the first episode of a show,
but also the second. Some shows just don't have the best pilot episode, and giving it that second chance might just sway your mind.
Here, we take that chance for you and let you know our opinion on if a show deserves more than just one shot.
I'm Justice. Alongside me is my co-pilot Josh. Now, let's get ready for takeoff. Your in-flight entertainment this week will be Heels.
Heels is a 2021 original show by Starz, a premium network television channel, which when I say premium network television channel, nobody knows what I mean anymore because nobody watches TV. But it's one of those things you have to subscribe to separately, not like Amazon Prime or Netflix.
It's like HBO Max.
Yeah.
But
with lesser quality stuff in general.
Yeah, generally. But also, Heels, as of right now, only has 3 episodes up, and as of the recording of this podcast.
It will have 3 episodes up when this episode comes out. Episode 4 doesn't come out for 4 more days after this episode goes live.
Something like that, yeah.
And this show airs Sunday nights at midnight Eastern Standard Time. So Monday mornings at midnight Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
On Starz, which means for all of us who actually care, that's when you can first watch it. It does air live at that time as well in that time slot if you have a TV and don't have TiVo or don't have on-demand viewing. Which, if that's your case, I'm sorry. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah. Have you not heard? Streaming is the future.
But more importantly,
the future is the future.
This show is the Stephen Amell wrestling show.
Now, if you've been around for, I'd say, more than 3 episodes, by this point, probably know that Josh is a massive wrestling fan. He's not been super caught up at the moment, but he just loves wrestling in general.
I am a mark. Actually, I don't, like, I say I'm a mark, but, like, that's a really, like...
No, you're Josh. Don't confuse people. Your name is Josh.
Okay, so I'll explain mark then for you real fast. Mark is the term used in the wrestling business to describe a wrestling fan who buys into the story. It used to be described wrestling fans who believed the story.
But no one believes the story anymore unless you're like under the age of 5.
But in 2021, yeah, unless you're under the age of 5, nobody believes the story. Nobody believes it's real, I should say. Believing the story is a different thing. Like, you could enjoy and believe in a story even though you know it's fake.
Can you believe in it?
Yeah, because I don't think believing in a story means you have to think it's real. Like,
you can believe in the themes and the message of it, but I don't think you can believe in it. Like, I can't say I believe in Santa Claus and be like...
I mean, you're right, okay? Like, sure, you don't believe in Santa Claus, but, like, you still, like, buy into the story, like, when you're watching a movie about Santa Claus or some shit, right? Like,
so, yes, I can be invested in the story, but I don't believe in the story.
Yeah, like, that's more what I meant. Like,
okay.
But you still buy in.
Just a matter of phrasing.
Yeah,
Got
like,
you.
The term mark nowadays doesn't apply to, like, fans who believe wrestling's real.
It's fans who buy into the story and are enthralled or / enjoy the story of the show. Yes.
Yeah, and in that case... Yeah, I would say I'm a mark.
Yeah.
I was super excited about the Gargano-Ciampa angle 4 years ago when that was relevant. Or when AEW decided that they were going to be a thing that existed and, like...
You're still excited that AEW exists?
Yes. Or, like, how Chris Jericho, like, was like... It was going to be impossible for him to show up at that AEW event because, like, he was still under contract with WWE. And
also,
like,
he was touring with Fozzy, his band at the time, too.
Yeah, like, but he did. Like, I buy into that shit. Like, it's awesome. Okay, so it's awesome because wrestling is superhero comics, superhero movies, superhero TV shows. If you like superheroes, you should like wrestling.
Yeah, no, it's just action scenes interspersed with a bit of story and men in cool costumes. And women in cool costumes, depending on what you're watching.
Yep, so that actually brings me to the opening of Heels, which literally opens by telling us what a hero is called in wrestling and what a villain is called in wrestling.
Your hero, or the good guy, is called the face.
Mm-hmm.
And your bad guy, or villain, is called a heel.
Sometimes you'll hear heroes referred to as baby faces,
which just means they're a really likable face.
Well, actually, just before they were before the term face came to be,
they were baby faces because they were soft and innocent, and squishy.
Yeah, like they were people that people wanted to cheer for. Like,
then it just got shortened to face.
Yeah. So faces are good guys, heels are bad guys. And the opening of this show starts with Stephen Amell's character typing a script up. And it's interspersed with
scenes of a match, because what he's typing up are the spots for the match. And spots are basically these points you're going to nail during the match. Like, hey, we are definitely going to do this move here. We're going to do this move. We don't know exactly how we're going to get from A to B. We'll just improv from there. But we are definitely hitting this, this, and this. We want to make sure these things happen.
In this order.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scripting for wrestling is a lot less second to second, minute to minute, and a lot more like we start with a elbow and collar tie up. We move to
it's a lot more like, hey, you're gonna go for 15 minutes. I want to see these 5 things happen in this order. Go do it.
This
but,
is the
but
end.
fill the space in between.
Yeah, this is how it ends. Get us there. And that's what Stephen Amell's character is writing. And he's actually writing his own match because it's him versus a guy named Big Jim. Because Stephen Amell plays the big heel of this wrestling.
Well, he's not just writing his, because the first thing we see is Rooster hit a coast to coast, and the first thing we see is coast to coast. He's literally writing out what's happening, and what he writes out, then we see on the screen, or it's the other way, we see the screen, and then he types it, and it does that back and forth.
Yeah.
It's a really good introduction to it, and everything's in slow-mo, really, at the moment,
and it's all set to music.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, this is our introduction to a lot of the characters, just their wrestling gimmicks, and we get introduced to Mill's character, who is called Jack Spade,
and
his wife and kid, who are
because when time hits back in at full speed, we see a woman walking up to the ringside with a drink, hands it to a kid, and she starts cheering for Jack, which is odd given the fact that everyone else is booing him because Jack is our heel, and she's cheering for him and calls him pet names and such. Easy to assume she is his wife, fiance, girlfriend, something.
And Jack ends up winning this match. It was a title match for Jack's championship, but like, despite the fact that he wins, the crowd is still cheering for Jim up until the point where Jack actually wins. When Jack hits his finisher.
And when Jack gets the mic, he starts immediately like degrading them, insulting them, say he doesn't care if they're cheering for him or not. They're all a bunch of backwoods idiots, basically.
Yep, he starts cutting a promo.
And when the ref goes to lift his arm up with the belt, he throws the ref out of the ring, hits the camera guy with it, which the camera guy is just like a teen in like a hoodie with a small GoPro. They are obviously a small wrestling company because it is also all in like a warehouse, it looks like. But as Jack's cutting this promo,
suddenly heroic music hits, like this upbeat rock music.
And before we even see the guy come in, the moment the music hits,
the crowd erupts
into cheers.
And
which is how you want to hit with a face, right?
Yeah. And then in a style similar to Ultimate Warrior, running down the ramp, arms pumping and flying, here comes Ace Spade, the number 1 baby face in the company.
And Jack's brother.
And he comes in and he hits Jack a few times and knocks him over the top rope. And he's like, he starts cutting his own promo where he's like,
"Where you going, big brother? You just took out my best friend. I'm not going to let this stuff stand. Come back in here. You and me can go for that belt right now."
And Jack is like, "Well, if you want this belt, I'll see you here next week." Which the crowd is like, when he's like, "You want this belt?" the crowd erupts to cheers because they want to see Spade versus Spade, brother versus brother championship match. And he's like, "Well, I'll see you back here next week." The crowd starts booing him because it's kind of like the cowardly heel thing, right? Like, for some reason, we would never expect a baby face to go 2 rounds in a row. Like, we'd be like, "Oh, that's unfair. How can they stack the deck against him like this?" But when a heel champion like denies going a second round, everybody's like, "Ooh, boo, you're such a coward."
Yeah. And so it's just like, anytime, any place. And Jack has the wonderful response of, "I just said next week, idiot.
I just told you the time and place, idiot." Yeah. It's so good, guys. It's so good.
So Jack turns around. He's done. He's getting ready. And as he's walking out, Ace says, "Jack, fuck you."
And the crowd pops.
Yeah. Massive explosion.
For wrestling terminology, the term crowd pops means they all erupt in like massive top tier excitement cheering, because a pop is just that. It's when the crowd goes wild.
Yeah. So Jack walks into the back. He's greeted happily by all the other wrestlers back there. And he goes to talk to what looks like the stage manager. And her name is Willie. She tells Jack she needs Ace to stop breaking the mics. And Jack's just like, "I know, and the fucking fog machine broke." And
like within like 30 seconds of coming into the back room, he's immediately inundated with like, Ace is breaking mics, the fog machines are broken. Hey, my camera broke when you threw the ref on me.
The shell of the camera broke, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, Jack's upset because Ace just cussed. And there are kids that they have come to the show and everything. They're trying to keep at least their face more innocent and pure and likable to the crowd.
Yeah, and like, I think it's more than like just the face. I think like they just have a blanket no cussing rule.
Yes. And so Ace comes back, again is greeted happily by the others. And then Jack is just like, "Hey, what was that? You don't cuss."
And then and Ace is like, "Yeah, but you hear them out there cheering my name, chanting my name."
And Jack's like, "I don't care. You stick to the script that I wrote."
And Ace blows him off and like walks off.
Yeah.
We then get the title sequence, which is what do you think of the title, the OP?
The song is very mellow and laid back for the high energy actual show that we just see. But I don't mind it.
So I think after episode 2, it kind of makes sense more with the show.
Yeah, but episode 1, it feels just a bit off, especially because of the pacing. We have these matches with high, intense octane energy, and then it's just, what is fair in love is...
So in the mid-outs, there was this TV show on Lifetime. I don't know if you're aware of it, called Army Wives.
No.
This OP sounds like Army Wives OP. Like, it gives that same vibe. Not just in the feel, but like in the cut of it. Like,
I've got no idea, man.
I've never watched that show intentionally, but I've caught the OP. I've caught like the first couple minutes of it. And yeah, this OP is very Army Wives.
Okay. So after our intro, we see some overhead shot of some fields, and then we come down to Jack, and Jack's just jog along the side of a road.
Yep. And we see an old billboard for a Tom the King Spade versus Wild Bill match. It's kind of faded out, but it's there.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tom King.
Also above that is Duffy Wrestling League, which is
The DWL?
Yeah, what they're wrestling on. And we also see then just some like random wrestling memorabilia for the area. We see a picture of Thomas King Spade. We see another picture of Wild Bill. We see a picture of Jack, and we see just a signed picture of Ace on a wall. And then we cut to the inside of a kid's bedroom.
Yeah, I mean, the Ace signed poster is in the kid's bedroom.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Tom, Jack's son,
Thomas, they always call him Thomas,
is Ace's biggest fan.
Yes.
And we cut to that bedroom because Stacy, Jack's wife, is waking Thomas up because it's Sunday, it's time for church, they need to get ready, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And at the same time this is happening, we cut to Willie, the show manager from the previous night, who's still at the arena. I don't know if, like...
I think she appears to be walking into it.
Yeah, maybe.
And then she sees a leak in the ceiling and just like, what the fuck?
And then Jack gets home from his jog.
He walks in, gets a drink of water from the kitchen, and then sits down at his computer to type out some more show stuff.
Because currently he's writing the script for the Jack versus Ace match. The big headliner.
He has nothing right now.
Yeah, saying he's writing it is kind of like overselling it because it literally just says Jack versus Ace, and then it's a blank page.
Yeah. We've
all been there, though. We have the title for the essay. We have our name and stuff.
We know what we have to do, and we're just staring at that blank screen and like, okay, I'm definitely working on this right now. That's what's happening. Yep.
And when somebody asks us how long it took us to write the paper, we're 100% counting that hour we just stared at the computer.
Only an hour? But so his wife Stacy walks in and she's like, are we going together separately to church? I gotta warm up with the band. And Jack's just like, well, I gotta take a shower. I've been working on the script.
And she's like,
and it's still not done.
She's like, that's what you said last week.
He's like, well, I fell asleep last week.
It wasn't intentional. I just fell asleep.
And she's like, well, think about it. This is family time. We should really go. And, we kind of need it. Like, Thomas heard us fighting last night. And Jack's just like, that wasn't fighting. That was a loving argument.
Honestly, the dialogue in this show is mostly beyond reproach. It's very good writing.
Yeah.
And he's like, and if Thomas is ever going to grow up and get married,
he's going to have to learn about things like love and arguments.
Like love and arguments and church guilt.
Because he says she's trying to guilt him into church. And she's like, well, that loving argument wouldn't have happened if you had, told me about buying fog machines instead of just buying them.
4 fog machines.
And he's just like, well, we needed them. I'm trying to get the thing back up and running and get in.
It's an investment.
It's an investment. She's like, well, if I knew what our investment plan was, I could have searched online, maybe found us 4 of them, just same quality or better, and had them sitting here at a much lower price. See this envelope here? It's filled with coupons because I'm pinching pennies so we can make this work and still have things to do as a family.
And she holding the coupons says to Jack, if we saved a little bit of money, maybe we could go to the movies once a month.
Get Thomas a new baseball bat.
But do things that we need to do.
And also in this, she basically is like, and if we really need to, I don't have a job. I can get one.
And Jack says, nope, Mom never had to work. You will never have to work.
Well, he doesn't straight say no. He just says, I don't want you to have to work.
That's a fair point.
And she just kind of accepts that at face value. Like, he says, don't have to work. But in the episode 2, it really comes up with their money issues, and she's complaining about it. And she's like, he hasn't said you're not allowed to work or been like foot down, like, don't work. He's just been like, I don't want you to have to. But, as an adult, we all realize we have to do a bunch of shit we don't want people to have to, or we don't want to have to.
Yeah, mostly this scene gives us like a good look into Jack, Stacy, and Thomas's life. Like, even though the scene is, 4 minutes long.
Yeah, something like that.
It does a really good job of like detailing their home life.
Yeah, because at the end of the little talk here, he's like, also, I still haven't finished the script yet. Who do you think should win? And her response isn't whether it should be Jack or Ace. She says, they should win. As in, like, what we need here is something that is good for the business.
She specifically says, us. We should win.
As in, as long as things turn out good and we're making money, that is us winning.
So we cut to church, and we're outside the church. We meet Mrs. Spade, Jack's mom,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, where's your brother? He said he stayed over at your house last night.
And Jack's like,
this is such a great...
At first, when she asked, she's like, where's Ace? And he's like, I don't know. She's like, he said he stayed over at your place last night. He's like, oh, yeah. And then he turns to his wife, Stacy, and she's like, which room did Ace stay in last night? Which is a joke because they don't have a very big house. So it's not like there were a lot of rooms to choose from.
And Stacy's like, oh, I gotta go warm up with the band now. Bye. Not my problem. So
they'll kind of just head into church after that. And we see where Ace is. Ace is
with Big Jim and Big Jim's wife
towards the back of the church. And Jim and his wife are sitting in a truck, and Ace is taking a piss on a tree.
And Big Jim's wife, Big Jim being the guy that Jack beat last night, the big baby face, the freak from the creek, because, gotta have those nicknames.
Also, the perfect casting for Clark Kent.
I have that note later in my notes. He's my dream cast for Superman going forward. Like, if you get one thing out of this show, just go find clips of Big Jim from Hills and tell me that he is not a perfect Clark Kent.
He works as Clark Kent, and he also has the ability to work as Superman. Guy is great.
I love him so much for that. Anyways.
Actually, we have two people in the show that could work good as Clark Kent.
You talking about Bobby Penn?
Bobby could also work well. You cannot tell me there are not a lot of Superman versions in the comic where Superman is just a himbo, because there's a fuck ton of himbo Superman runs. Especially early Superman. Early Superman was just a himbo.
You're not wrong. So, before we get in the church, Big Jim and his wife are sitting in the truck, and Big Jim's wife is like, why is he peeing on the tree? They've got bathrooms inside.
Well, she asks why he's peeing on this side of the tree where they can see him. She's like, he always loves an audience.
Yep. So when they get out of the truck, they ask Ace, why are you peeing out here? There's a bathroom inside. And Ace tells them, the bathroom inside's right next to the pulpit. I flushed that. You could hear it. I'm just out here respecting the Lord.
And then Jim's like, you're pissing on the Lord's tree. And Ace replies, well, if he didn't want me pissing on a tree, he wouldn't have to piss.
Yep. So service has already started when Big Jim, his wife, and Ace all walk in.
Thomas sees Ace comes in, smiles, kind of like flexes his arm at him, and Ace is just like smiles, finger gun.
And Jack kind of
takes his son, turns his head back towards front.
Yep, where Stacy is currently playing with the church band. Well, not playing, she's singing.
Yeah, and playing guitar.
Yeah. And
then we cut from there to outside where the church appears to be having like a little potluck get together.
And Jack is noticeably missing.
Yeah, in fact, Jim's wife asks where Jack is,
because
Stacy's just like,
because this scene is
exposition.
Not
really a huge amount of exposition. It's really more explaining terminology
in the most expositious way we can.
Yeah. So Jim's wife asks where he is, and Stacy's just like, well, he doesn't like to appear too social, especially on match days. So he's sitting in the car, and Ace chimes in like, he especially doesn't want to be seen being nice with me. So then Jim's wife is like, oh, is that kayfabe thing? And she's like, I don't understand it. Don't people know wrestling's fake?
And Stacy's like, hey, don't you dare call it fake.
No, Mrs. Spade, their mother, says that. And then she turns to Jim and asks Jim, how is it that you got her pregnant and haven't explained this to her yet?
And Big Jim has the greatest answer. He's like,
well, we were doing other things, like practicing getting pregnant. And she just gives him a look, and Ace grabs his nephew's head by the ears and like walks his in. He's like, he's talking about intercourse, mama. And she's just like, Ace.
Something about this scene, like the acting just feels stilted a bit. I like the dialogue. I think it's humorous.
The person that feels stilted here is Jim's wife. I think everyone else is fine.
Yeah, maybe she just ruins the scene. Maybe she's not a good actress.
I think it's still a fine scene, though. It's probably the weakest scene in the show, but I think it's still a fine scene.
I've seen this episode 3 times now, and I'm pretty sure the acting in this scene is subpar in comparison to the rest of the show. And in comparison to a lot of shows in general, like this scene feels badly acted.
I really don't feel that way.
I don't think Big Jim's doing anything wrong here. I don't really get the vibes that Stacy's handling the scene wrong. Ace feels a little stilted. Big Jim's wife feels a little stilted. And Mrs. Spade feels a little stilted. And I don't know why they all just feel off.
But anyways, like right after that, Jack pulls up with the Jeep and Stacy and Thomas get in it and they go away.
Also, because we didn't explain it like the show did, kayfabe is the story like of the rest of wrestling. The characters, the real of the wrestling. Like
the things that are happening in the wrestling ring and when they're yelling at each other and fighting each other and getting drama, all of that is real according to kayfabe.
For instance.
So to keep the kayfabe up out of a match is to continue in-ring disputes and kind of be an asshole if you're a heel, or be really energetic and nice if you're the babyface. It's playing your character, always.
For instance. Well, no, that's an aspect of...
I'm talking about the kayfabe that like Jack's
For instance, though, Undertaker and Kane, 2 really big names. I'm sure most of you know who they are, even if you don't know wrestling. are brothers.
In the story of WWE's wrestling.
They're both the sons of
Paul Bearer.
Paul Bearer, yeah. They're half brothers. But in real life, they're nowhere related at all.
I mean, also in the kayfabe, Kane's dead.
Yeah.
My little brother died. And then it's just like, he's not dead. He's right here.
Well, no, he's not dead because he wears a mask because he's badly burned.
Oh, yeah. Undertaker thought he was dead. Because their house caught on fire when they were young or some
and
weird
Undertaker
bullshit.
got blamed for the fire, but really Kane did it.
Yeah. It's why Kane had a huge fire motif.
There's
why the
even
Inferno match started because of it.
There's even a novel about this, guys. There is a novel about the kayfabe of Kane's backstory.
Hey,
I love wrestling so much.
Do you guys want us to make bonus content, like start a Patreon, and the bonus content just be to read that one book and only ever talk about that book?
No. Can we just read all the WWE novels? There's like
I don't want to
half a dozen,
but I could see it.
There's one where Trish Stratus is a secret agent.
You want to know what? If you guys want that, let us know in a review, an email, or whatever. And we might start a Patreon and I guess make that a bonus thing we do.
Justice. There's one where Trish Stratus is a secret agent.
I'm going to ignore you. We should go back to the show, though.
No. And WWE shows are done where they're done, specifically so Trish has an alibi to be in that city so she could do secret agent stuff. Justice. So that's not even kayfabe. Like, that's not part of her character at all.
So we see Crystal pull up in her Jeep outside the Dome, and then we cut to inside the Dome, which is what they call the warehouse where DWL is happening. They call it the Dome.
Justice.
And in the Dome, wrestlers are practicing in the ring, and we see our new guy, Bobby Pinn, walk up.
That's
He's
not
new to
part
the
of
scene. He's new to wrestling, and so they're explaining what's going on to him. And,
I like how you're just stonewalling me
he
right
asks
now.
if they sell out anymore. And the guys are just like, well, we don't sell anymore, but
You're
things have started
completely ignoring me.
Things have started to pick back up since Jack brought in Ace.
I'm going to bed if you don't start.
I heard you, and it was bad, so I ignored you and continued on. We're now at the part where Rooster explains to Bobby.
Yeah, just do you understand though?
I do, and it's so dumb.
That wasn't even part of her kayfabe. That wasn't even part of the story for Trish Stratus.
I understand, and it was so dumb. I didn't want to hear it, so I ignored it.
Okay, so we're at the DWL Dome,
and Rooster is now complaining that
he's not gotten the title shot.
Yeah, because Rooster is explaining that he's been doing this since he's 18. He's done a lot of work. He's
torn every muscle
shit.
in his body.
Might as well have been at this point, he says. Whereas Ace doesn't have Ace has had no problems. Nothing's wrong with Ace. And Rooster's just upset because he's put in a lot of work, and he's the only one that can do this, and he illustrates in his this is he's a high flyer.
Well,
he's the one high flyer.
His this is he jumps from the ring. He climbs it.
I mean, I think he jumps to the middle rope and then does a moonsault off of it.
He jumps from the ring to the middle rope and then moonsaults. It's fluid. It looks pretty, but I'm sure other people can do it. On a scale from 1 to 10, that's probably not like...
He does get some good distance, though. He gets like 3/4 to the other side.
Like, it's probably not like...
the best.
More than a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in difficulty to do that.
But mind you, he is correct. A lot of the people we see in DWL wrestling are big guys. Like Vince McMahon would probably want these guys. Well, maybe not. I don't think enough of them have oil all over them.
He'd want APOC.
APOC and Big Jim.
Yeah, he'd want Apocalypse and Big Jim.
Mm-hmm. But
which is really weird with the WWE proxy stand-in the show wants Ace. Ace isn't built.
Ace feels more an HBK type.
Yeah. Super kicks are just really common in like...
Yeah, but it appears to be his signature.
Yeah, no, super kicks are really common as signatures and finishers in like... I don't want to say minor league wrestling.
He also has the longish blonde hair, talks in a southern accent, and promotes himself as a face, but is really more of a heel personality, which is how HBK started.
My point here is the super kick is just a super common finisher.
I know.
It's super easy to do and it looks fucking sick.
Yeah. So Rooster's really just complaining about Ace. And then he decides, you know what, we should have this new guy do an elbow drop from the top corner.
He doesn't just decide it. When he hits that moonsault on Bobby Pinn.
Yeah, he's practicing on Bobby. Bobby just starts laughing. He's just like having fun. And Rooster's just like, what do you think you're doing?
And Bobby's like,
it didn't hurt.
Yeah, it didn't hurt. And Rooster says, you gotta sell it though, for the audience. Selling, by the way, is wrestling terminology for acting.
Making it look real.
For acting. Selling means to act. If you're selling something, you're acting. You're trying to make somebody believe it.
Really, they use terms for that card artists use. They're selling something to you. You're a mark.
Because wrestling started as a carnival thing.
You have a face, which is also a term sometimes used in cons. If you're running more than one-man con, your face is the guy who's approachable and meant to make everyone like them. I don't think they call their bad guy a heel, but face, mark, and selling in that connotation, all con artist terms.
They're also carny terms.
I know.
Wrestling started as a carnival thing.
Well, actually, it started as an actual legitimate blood sport, and then people started to rig it.
Yeah, wrestling
because
actually
people were
started
placing bets, and people were like, well, if I rig this, we can make more money because these bets. And then people caught on, so then it turned into more of an act/entertainment show, and then it turned into big blown act as we see it now.
Wrestling originally started as like a variant of bare knuckle boxing with betting. In the mid to late 1800s, modern day wrestling, that's where it started, and it was more popular in the West. The further west you got, it got more popular because it could be more real with less regulations. The further west you were, because it's the 1800s. And then people started realizing, hey, if we like script events, we can rig bets and make more money, and we can also make people like more likely to bet on somebody, like making this somebody like an undefeated champion for weeks on end, or
and
like,
then fucking ruin it. We'll take a bigger haul,
or like have a new guy come in who like is incredibly impressive and like people really like him, so they're gonna bet on him because he's got a like je ne sais quoi, or like a personality that people like. So
you started to build up these big personalities
and these characters
and this story, basically. So then you got
eventually you got wrestling.
But so he has Bobby get up on the turnbuckle to come at him with he's like, elbow drop.
Hit me with an elbow drop. I'll show you how to sell.
And well,
Apocalypse is like, you sure you should do this?
And Rooster's like, it's fine. So Bobby gets up there, does his elbow drop, and just full on hits Rooster. And Rooster's like, fuck, that hurt.
Rooster rolls up on his shoulders, and
Bobby's like, oh, you saw that pretty well. And Rooster's like, no, you fucking hit me. That actually hurt.
Bobby's like, well, what did I do wrong? And then Crystal, who's been watching this entire time from
the second floor
in the balcony, is like, you're supposed to land on your hip.
You put all your weight in your elbow
and basically drape your arm across the guy, but you landed literally on your elbow.
Well, literally, Rooster's lucky not to have a cracked sternum.
Yeah, like if you have a guy the size of Bobby Pin legitimately jump and fall after his jump probably like 9 feet and land elbow first into your sternum, you're probably gonna break a bone.
Yeah.
Wrestling isn't real, but the simplest mistakes...
It's literally stunt acting. Stunt workers for big movies get hurt when shit fucks up. Wrestlers get hurt when shit fucks up because they are doing hard movements and things that are hard on your body.
For instance, if you want to see something like this, go look up Brock Lesnar's moonsault. Botch. It's why he doesn't do dives anymore. Brock Lesnar does not go off the top rope because he botched a moonsault so badly he broke his fucking neck. And I'm not joking when I say he broke his neck. He literally broke his neck.
Yeah, but anyways, so Rooster's just questioning how the fuck Bobby got in, wondering what type of fucking shit he just sold to Jack to get him to take him in. And then Jack walks in, and that is just like, hey, and then Jack kind of just walks on back to his office. And then we cut to someone holding a phone watching a promotion for Florida Wrestling Dystopia.
Oh, it's Willie holding the phone.
I was kidding. No, we don't see Willie.
She's in the back somewhere in the DWL Dome.
And she's watching a promotion for Florida Wrestling Dystopia. And the showrunner for this is the guy who played the principal in Wayne, which if you still haven't watched Wayne, why not? It's a great show.
Go watch Wayne. So good. Big wows. But yeah, he's promoting the Florida Wrestling Dystopia, which uses footage from TNA. If you're a wrestling fan, you'll recognize some people here. Abyss. I don't think RVD is in this footage, but Rob Van Dam is in footage.
Yeah, with a wire bat later.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't need to be a TNA fan to know who Rob Van Dam is. Rob Van Dam is a fucking legend no matter what wrestling brand you watch. Did you watch ECW in the 90s? You know Rob Van Dam. Did you watch WWE in the mid-2000s? You know who Rob Van Dam is.
Did you used to get confused about who Rob Van Dam and Jean-Claude Van Damme were? It's fine. They're basically the same person. One's just better.
They're not the same person. I don't know if either of them are better. I think they're both like...
I mean, Jean-Claude Van Damme had some decent movies.
Rob Van Dam had
no decent movies. I win this round.
Was an icon. He was amazing.
But
I say was, but I think the dude's still alive.
So she gets a bit angry and she kind of just storms to Jack's office, or is going to, but she sees Jack looking at like their wall of champions for DWL.
We should also mention here that Florida Wrestling Dystopia is running a promotion where if you swear to never go to the DWL Dome again, you'll get half price tickets.
Because the South is FWDs.
Yeah.
It's Charlie Gully's.
It should be noted that FWD promotes less story and storytelling and character building.
More hardcore matches, tacks, blood, baseball wrapped with barbed wire.
Yeah, so Florida Wrestling Dystopia cares less about like the story of wrestling and more about the car crash bloodiness of wrestling.
Yeah. So she finds Jack looking at this wall of champs, and like the first thing she says is, "It always kind of bothered your dad that you didn't use his finisher." And Jack's response is, "I always thought tapping out looked fake," which is kind of a Chekhov's gun here. Did you not realize that?
I quit. You can do the podcast by yourself.
So Jack thinks that tapping out looks fake.
in his defense, tapping out 90% of the time does look fake. Although, to be fair, if you're ever at a real fight, tapping out is more likely a thing that will get you a win.
No. Like, tap out moves are the way to go in an actual fight.
It's much harder to beat a guy until he can't sit up, which is what pinning is, than it is to put a dude in an arm bar or bend a dude's finger until he, like, until
he cowers and cries because he's in so much pain and he doesn't want a broken bone.
Yeah, because
especially in America, because no one wants a broken bone in America, because not only will you be in physical pain, you will be destitute for the rest of your fucking life because of our medical care.
Yeah. But Willie does end up talking to Jack about the FWD promo, and Jack's like, who gives a shit? He doesn't know what wrestling is. He's just putting on car crashes and people are stopping and staring.
Well, it's like, but people stop and watch car crashes. Like, yeah, and then they fucking move on.
Yeah, then they get bored, move on. We're telling stories here, Willie. We're making something.
And he's like, what's the FWD has that we don't? She's like, money. That plastic warm money, which they don't really expand upon here, but in episode 2 they do talk about it. Charlie Gully was apparently like a fisherman supply, like bait and tackle god in Florida, apparently. And then he took that money he earned from that business and started FWD.
Indeed he did. So then we cut to Big Jim and Ace outside of wrestling. They're just hanging out because
they're hanging out in Cooper's grocery store.
So here's my question, and I assume based on episode 2 that Big Jim and Ace are actually legit friends.
Well, we get that in this episode on the fucking water tower.
Yeah,
like, Jim is legitimate friends with Ace.
So Ace wasn't like selling when he ran out to the ring on the previous DWL show and was like, "You were just talking shit about my friend. You think I'm going to let you stand up here and do that?"
Yeah.
Because him and Big Jim are actually really good friends. Which, after this scene, I have to be like, why is Big Jim friends with Ace?
It feels more like they were friends in high school, and he's kind of, like, exasperatedly still friends with Ace. Like,
because
this guy's a fucking piece of work, but someone has to put up with him, and I can, I guess. And if I'm around, I can keep him a bit more in check. It feels like that type of friendship where it's like, you're my friend, but only because I don't think anyone else could stand to be your friend. Which I've had friends like before, where I'm just like, you are my friend by circumstance. I only put up with your shit because it's easier for me to do so than other people, and there is a slight payoff.
So yeah, they're in this like supermarket, gas station.
Ace is complaining about how he's not champ yet, and how he's only making $50 a show. But when he becomes champ, he's gonna demand 100 from Jack every show.
And Jim's like, so you're definitely getting the win then? And he's like, I don't know. Jack hasn't finished the script yet.
And Jim's like, well, if you're fed up with this, why don't you go back to Winn-Dixie? And Ace replies, I don't want to go back to Winn-Dixie. That's why I fucking quit that place to come here and do this.
Mm-hmm. So then they get to the cash register, and Ace has been a bitch this entire time.
Just whining and whining, and Jim's just like...
And like not just whining and whining, like he grabs something off a shelf and like pushes it in Jim's hands. It's like,
I'll pay you back for this later. It's supposed to make my eyes pop in the...
Yeah. So they get to the register, Jim checks out, and the...
cashier is being really nice, and she's just like, hey Jim, good look at the match, I'm really looking forward to it, hope you have a good show out there. And Jim's just like, yeah, thanks. You know, she's just a really nice person here. It's a nice brief interaction you have with someone when you kind of know them and you see them at their job. Like, you don't want to get in their way of their job and you're doing something, but it's a nice casual conversation. Ace says nothing to her,
and then Ace starts walking away out. And she's like, hey, put that gun back, Ace. Every time you come in here you steal something. The only reason I haven't called the police yet is because your dad
was good to my family.
And Ace kind of like hesitates to put the gun back, but he ends up walking over and slamming it on the counter, not like just putting it back.
He's angry and grouchy like a whiny little bitch, like he is.
And
then, no offense to anyone.
Then he gets in her face.
And no, he doesn't get in her face right away. He storms around, still angry, and goes to leave. And she says, Tom would be disappointed in you.
Yes, and then he gets in her face, and he's like, let me tell you a story about Tom. You know that time you came over with your family
when we were just kids,
and we had casserole. And you just ate bowl after bowl after bowl.
I couldn't look away.
Well,
you were just eating.
The entire time you were talking about this dog you found.
Just talking and talking. You would not shut up.
But about a week later,
our mom was talking to yours, and she said your mama mentioned the dog got hit by a car, got run over by a car. And you know what old Tom said? Probably for the best. That Cooper girl would have ate it.
Yep. So keep in mind, Ace is supposed to be a face in a local small town of Duffy.
It is a match day.
And they work like, so in the modern day world, I can't really talk about 2021 wrestling, but in 2017, when I still watched wrestling, kayfabe matters during the show, right?
Yeah.
But because it's 2018, 2017, 2021, it doesn't matter so much after the show. Because here's the thing, and this is an important note. Social media is so prevalent.
It's impossible to keep kayfabe.
Yeah. So, like, Braun Strowman might have been the monster in WWE, tipping trucks and, like...
But he was this nice, humorous guy.
Hung out with Avenged Sevenfold backstage because he really liked Avenged Sevenfold,
yeah.
And they really liked wrestling. Like, even though he was supposed to be this monster heel, which is a term that means a heel that like doesn't have a human personality,
he's just big and scary and punches things.
Yeah. Even though he's supposed to be this monster heel with like no humanizing characters, outside of Monday Night Raw and pay-per-views, he was a really cool dude that people like wanted to hang out with.
Yeah. Mind you, though, this isn't even a failure of kayfabe in a small town. Because this shit would have blown back in his face no matter where he was, what level he was. Because you can't be a fucking shit like that big of a piece of shit to someone, and not have that fucking repercussions. Especially if you're in any fucking form of entertainment.
Yeah. So my point here, though, is in a small town where everybody knows everybody, keeping the kayfabe going outside of the ring is kind of more important.
And it's much easier to do, theoretically, unless you're a fucking piece of shit like Ace.
Like, Undertaker in the 90s and early 2000s kept the kayfabe as hard as possible.
Yeah, he did.
Like, he didn't travel with other people. Unless he was on the bus with the guys or, like, on a plane with the guys, he was Undertaker, because if he was in public, he had to be Undertaker. He had to be this monster heel.
And, like, he never had the violent persona of, like, being angry at fans, but fans would approach him back in the 90s, and he just kind of,
Or, like, Chris Jericho tells stories about
away.
how he used to be a heel, and, like, fans would come up to get autographs while he was a heel, and, like, he would just smack the paper out of their hands. He wouldn't hit them.
He wouldn't hit them. He wouldn't insult them. He would just smack the paper out of his hand and say he doesn't fucking have time for them.
Yeah, because the point is, he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the villain. You're not supposed to want his autograph.
But, so, he does that. She starts crying, and then just to add insult to injury, he takes the fucking gum and leaves.
Oh, I didn't see that.
He slaps his hand down and takes the gum as well and leaves.
Jesus.
Not only does he insult her, he also then steals from the store still.
How is Jim friends with this dude? Because Jim is legitimately a good human being. Anyways.
I don't think Jim sees him take the gum at that point, but it's still like, what the fuck, man? So
Jim does. We should mention though. Jim tries to cut him off and stop him from going on this like tirade and leaving Helen Cooper, this mid-20s woman, literally in tears at her job. Like, this dude is
her family
dick.
At her family-run store too, which has to feel like somewhat of a safe space, right? Like, her family's been running that for years.
Yep. So we then cut to Jack in his office. He's working on the script.
He seems a bit frustrated at the script, but you know, he has been this entire time so far.
And he gets a call from Mr. Cooper.
And you just see his face like immediately darken. He's angry as fuck, and that's kind of the end of that scene.
Yep. Then we cut to the locker room, and Apocalypse, one of the big names of DWL, a former champion even, is giving a speech to the locker room,
mainly to Bobby Pin.
And he's like, as a wrestler, it's your job to go out there and make the crowd love you. And failing to do that, you have to make them love to hate you.
Yeah.
And like when he says make them love to hate you, the entire like locker room chimes in, because Tom Spade used to run this business, was a heel. Like,
yeah.
And one of the important things to realize as a heel is your job isn't to have people like genuinely hate you. People need to hate your character. They need to want to hate you.
You know how everyone has that show, and there's just that one bad guy they just love to hate? Because in like a good show, it's only as good.
Joffrey, Game of Thrones.
Everyone loves to hate Joffrey. He's a piece of shit. No one likes him, but they love to fucking hate him.
Yeah.
That's the prime example. Like, loving to hate someone is a thing you can do.
If you've watched Code Geass, Lose the Rebellion, the entire purpose of a hill is zero.
Yeah.
Everybody has to love how much they hate you. They have, like, because the idea, you're an entertainer still. Like, you don't want people to actually, like, have negative feelings when you win a match, but you want them to be upset and talk about it, because, like, it is a story and they're going to be upset.
And from there, they get to talking about some stuff. Like, one of the guys, Diego, is talking kind of just about how he's always been a heel, and
he was supposed to be a heel because he's like, nobody in Georgia is gonna like a Cuban.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's always been a heel.
And then he was like, and then one day, King Spade came up to me, he's like, hand me this mask, and he says, you're a luchador now.
A Mexican luchador.
He's like, and now they love to hate me. And the best part is, they hate me even more because I'm here illegally.
And I remind them all the time.
And his wrestling name is Diego Cottonmouth.
Yep. So then Crystal, outside the locker room, asks Willie about getting a locker because she's been here for like 2 months. And
well, she doesn't explain why. She asks Willie if there's a locker room she's. And then Willie says, you've been here 2 months. You should know the locker rooms are for the wrestlers.
Yep, which is just a little sexist, but whatever.
Yeah.
She then tells...
She doesn't really say anything. All the guys come out.
Yeah, she steps into the locker room and she tells the locker room as a whole that, hey, Jack is here. He's got the script ready for you guys.
Yeah, we're doing a rundown on the script. And then we see all them leaving. We linger on Crystal, and she kind of seems sad, turns around and walks away.
Yep. So, quick rundown of the script. The script has Rooster winning over Bobby Penn.
And Bobby has some ideas, though, about this.
And Willie says, no, you don't.
He's like, yeah, I do.
No,
you don't.
When it comes to the script, Jack's
end all be all, basically.
And then there's going to be a battle royale, which Rooster and Bobby are coming back out for.
And Jim is going to win this, though.
Yeah, him and Apocalypse are going to be the last 2 men standing. And just when it looks like Apocalypse is going to win, Jim is going to get a chant going and put Apocalypse over the top rope.
Every time we see all the other wrestlers, it's normally just like a fun interaction where they're just shooting the shit with each other. Like, here, they're running down the ending of this match, he's like, okay, Apocalypse, you're gonna take Diego and throw him over the top. And Apocalypse is like, looks over at Diego, who is a larger guy, and Diego's like, I've been cutting back for you, so you can get me over that rope.
No, this is the conversation between Big Jim and Apocalypse, because Big Jim...
No, because Diego's the one that says, when told to lose 21 pounds, he's like, no, on laugh. Yeah, because Jim doesn't pick him up and throws it, he just knocks him over with clothesline. It is Diego that makes the joke about losing weight and cutting back.
Okay. I think you're wrong, but it's whatever. But yeah, it's jokes.
It's really just jokes and shooting the shade about having fun with the match, man.
And then he says, and the show's gonna end with Ace losing by pinfall.
Yeah, and up until halfway through that rundown, Ace wasn't even fucking here.
Yeah, Ace and Big Jim both got there late.
No, Jim's not here late. Jim shows up late in 2 for a rundown. He's on the side of the ring in his outfit. Jim is. Ace comes in late with Crystal.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I knew he came in late with somebody. My bad.
So Ace gets pissed. He's sitting in the stands. He's all pissed by himself.
Yeah, after Jack outlines the show, Willie then starts doing the managing job. She's like, okay, guys, here's the more detailed scripts for you with your match spots. And remember, you have autographs an hour before the show. Everybody has to be there.
Yep. And then we cut outside. Jack is walking to his car, and Ace is yelling. He's pissed.
What if I just don't wrestle?
I may as well not wrestle.
Cool. I'll put Big Jim back in.
Yeah, and
everybody loves the freak from the creek. No big deal.
This is how we're doing it. I've got the FWD breathing down my neck. I've got to subvert the expectations of the crowd.
And then Ace is like, they're coming to the show to see me win. Yeah, they're arguing, and Ace is like, they're coming to see me win. And Jack says, where do we go from there, though? If you win, where does the story go?
Yeah.
We have to subvert their expectations. If they see their hero lose to the villain tonight, then they get to watch their hero fight back up from the bottom, back to the top. That's something. And then
Ace is kind of just like, fuck Angles. It doesn't fucking matter. I want to win.
Yeah, fuck Angles. They're coming to see me win. I should win. They're coming to see me win. And then Jack says, they trust me to tell them a story better than what they have to live with every day.
And then Ace replies to Jack, it's just grown men in costumes pretending to hit each other. It's supposed to be fun.
Not at the expense of being good. And this conversation, this dialogue writing is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Because wrestling is supposed to be fun, right? But that's the purpose of entertainment. It's not just wrestling. Shows are supposed to be fun.
But that's why most shows are scripted. Nothing to improv actors, but most scripted shows are better than most amateur improv shows.
Yeah,
which is what this wrestling league would be.
So if a show isn't good, it doesn't matter if it's fun. Shows can be good but not fun.
I've had fun at really shitty concerts that I would never go to see that band again, but that was strictly just because I had good friends with me, so I had a fun time. Show was shit though.
Yeah, I'm not just talking about TV shows specifically there, but
I'm talking about something that can be fun, but not good. And that doesn't mean you don't want to do it again.
But things can also be good without being fun. And I think that's the really important part here. Being good is more important than being fun.
Agreed.
Because if people like your thing, it doesn't matter how much fun they had with it. I'm trying to get a good example.
Any good drama is good. I don't really know how much a good, actual drama is about being fun, though. Because it's not written to be fun. It's meant to be a compelling story that kind of tugs on heartstrings, plays into these tropes. It's meant to be a compelling story, but that story isn't fun.
Yeah.
You can watch a sad fucking movie, and it was a good movie. It's definitely not a fun movie.
Yeah. And,
But you'll watch the fucking movie. And I know people have watched The Notebook so many fucking times. I wouldn't say The Notebook's fun.
No, Notebook's not fun.
It's pretty good, though.
The movie's good. I haven't finished the book.
But it can be good and not fun, but good is better than...
I still have 4 chapters left.
Action movies, they can be fun. Most of them aren't too good in mind.
We had this argument once.
I know.
It was a really in-depth argument about, does being fun make something good? And honestly, we came to the conclusion, we agreed that no, something isn't good just because it's fun, but something isn't fun just because it's good. Basically, our argument boiled down to this conversation.
Yeah.
Just because Mission Impossible is fun
doesn't mean it's good.
Just because Fast and the Furious 9 is
definitely
fun,
not good,
does not mean it's a good movie. God, yeah.
But
just because The Green Knight is good doesn't mean it's fun. God, I know we talked about this in depth last time. My phone won't stop suggesting articles of people being like, this is what you missed with The Green Knight. This is why it's so good. And I'm like,
I saw an actual fucking review where someone was just talking about how so much of it related to things from the book. I'm just like, you have not fucking read the story. Go fuck yourself. Because they were talking about the fucking fever dream ending being related to the short story. I'm just like, no, you definitely haven't fucking read this. You can give me some bullshit about the exchange of gifts and all that, or even his ride there and all that. But when we hit that fever dream, you cannot tell me at any points related to the fucking story. Anyways, though.
Yeah, so at the end of this conversation with Jack and Ace, Jack turns to Ace and goes, Mr. Cooper called me today, by the way. He wanted to know why Helen went home crying. And Ace is like, is that what this is about?
That's why I'm losing?
And Jack said, it was a show day. Because the point here is that this episode is entitled Kayfabe. I don't know if we said the episode.
I don't think so.
Episode 1 is entitled Kayfabe. You're an hour into this episode. Sorry. But this is Ace thoroughly destroying the kayfabe kayfabe of him being a good person.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because at the end of this argument,
Jack tells Ace that he needs people to think he's a good guy.
People need to believe you're a good guy.
And he's like, they do. I am. He's not. He's definitely not.
We didn't mention, but the start of the supermarket scene opens with Ace being like, so I was fucking this girl last night.
And Ace is like, I think it's about time to get a new valet. And Jim's like, what about Crystal? And Ace is like, it's just a bullshit job. It doesn't matter anyways. And Jim's like, I think it matters to her.
And Ace doesn't care if it matters to somebody else.
So after that little conversation between those two,
Ace storms back into the locker room.
And he's just fucking still yelling about Jack's booking. And Jim's there putting his shit away. And Ace blows up on Jim because Jim doesn't immediately like kowtow to his son. He's like, yeah, that's bullshit. Oh, so now you're against me too. He's like, I got nothing. And walks away.
I didn't say anything. Yeah. So then, because this is a Starz show in their midnight time slot,
Crystal shows up to tell him how great Ace is and how she's always wanted to be a valet for him since she saw him playing football and cried, so it made her feel emotions for him.
Going back to what I said though, because this is a Starz show, Ace and Crystal fuck. This scene doesn't have a lot going on. It builds Crystal's character a little bit,
but not in a good way.
Yeah. So yeah, they fuck.
And then they get interrupted briefly because Diego's still in the locker room taking a shit. So he comes out of the locker room, just like, I'm not looking.
Let me know when I can finish my shit. Yeah.
And then they continue to fuck.
Yep. Then Jack is out by himself. He's bought some GoPro cameras.
Just on a bridge above some train tracks, filming it. That's the scene. It's a really nice, like, cinematographic scene, though. Like, it looked pretty. And I feel like it was probably just a scene they shot on days where they were just getting there, driving shots in with the drones and shit. Like, they're just like, we found this nice wooden bridge. You want to shoot? Sure,
so,
why
like,
not?
you get the shot with the GoPros, but then he's driving back to the dome, and he stops at a stop sign. These two kids on bikes look at him, and he, like, slowly turns to face them.
And then mean mugs them.
And they run off because, oh my god,
Spade,
it's Jack Spade, yeah.
He turns back to face the fun. He kind of just smiles and nods to himself. Fine.
So, like, there's a podcast, we've never talked about it before in this podcast, called Talk is Jericho.
Talk is Jericho.
Yeah, so Talk is Jericho is Chris Jericho's podcast. Chris Jericho, as you might know, is a professional wrestler, WWE champion, world heavyweight champion, the first unified world heavyweight champion for the WWE because he's
done a lot of wrestling.
Yeah. But, like, this is one of the things he talked about being a heel in, like, some of his episodes. It's like, being a heel, like, you can, people are scared of you, people hate you, like, but there's still, like, a joy to playing that character. You still get to experience the emotion that you give other people. Because, like, a face, they all the time, they get to sign autographs, and, like, people are like, oh my god, I love you. And nowadays, same goes for heels. People love heels. But in the 90s and early 2000s, not so much the case. But this is a great example of, like, a heel getting to enjoy being a heel, and not in a way that's, like, overtly violent or something outside the ring. Like, it's just Jack being scary because of the character he's made, because of the kayfabe.
So then from there, Jack shows up at the dome, and
there's some barbecue set up, and
there's a lot of talking, and he asks Willie what's going on, and Willie's just like, we've got to get.
Yep, so he goes into the locker room, and there's a guy named Wild Bill there. Wild Bill, if you'll remember, was on a sign earlier. He used to be the heel to Tom Spade's face.
Yeah.
And apparently Wild Bill got recruited by the WWE proxy stand-in. They never say WWE because WWE
loves to sue shit.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of bullshitting with the guys in the back. When Jack shows up, he takes Jack back to the office because he wants to talk.
Yep. Apparently Wild Bill's here because Developmental saw, because the WWE proxy company that isn't WWE saw the YouTube video of Jack from the previous week. And
Jack versus Ace, and they want to scout Ace.
Yep.
And Jack just doesn't think Ace is ready for that. And Bill disagrees with him, and apparently so do the suits at Developmental. They want Ace.
Yeah, Jack basically tells him to fuck off, though.
Yeah. And Bill's whole, like, response to Jack is, I know you think I could have done more, and Jack is like, well, you could have at least done fucking something to help us out here.
Yeah, which fair is fair. But Wild Bill basically laughs at him for being in the minor leagues. There's some good dialogue here. Wild Bill is acting pompous and shit. He's like, yeah, I may have left Duffy, but I came back in a Learjet. But, like, he's being a pompous dickbag, and Jack's
like, none of that fucking matters. And Bill's like, I think it'll matter to Ace.
Well, no, Jack's like, none of that fucking matters. And he has this great line. He says, just because you got more, don't mean we got any less.
Yeah. And
the script writer, goddamn. I mean,
so really it just comes down to Bill telling Jack, well, I think Ace is going to like what I have to offer. And in that entire time as well, Bill is just disparaging Jack's, like, plan. Because Jack's like, I plan on building the DWL album.
You think you're going to be something? Your dad made a cathedral to a hobby. You're nothing but community theater that takes itself too seriously.
Yeah. And essentially Jack tells him, you don't get to fucking come here and patronize. Let's get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill's just like, you should be proud to have one of your guys make it to the big league, Jack. It's all you're good for. The best you can hope for. And Jack tells him, fuck off and get out of his office.
Yep.
And Bill's just like, you're just like your dad. And Jack's like, what'd I fucking tell you? So Bill then leaves.
And in town, we get people putting DWL flags on their trucks and kind of driving parade like through town honking at people.
Yeah, we see people literally closing up shop, getting in their trucks or cars. We BWL flags. It's like a little parade convoy over to the dome for the show.
Yep. Then we come back to the dome, and we're at the ring, and Ace is trying to convince Jack to change the booking for the night because he's trying to like book himself to be more impressive because he's got scouts from
because
the WWE proxy that isn't WWE.
He and Bill met up in the parking lot real quick, and he kind of just told Ace that suits were in, and Ace was excited. So Ace is just like, we gotta book this indie better to make me look great.
So honestly, this booking is actually fantastic.
It's not a bad booking.
It's actually a great booking. Like, so the booking that Ace is pitching here is he would hit the super kick, like it's currently in the script. He'd hit the super kick, Jack would go down, but instead of pinning him,
Ace wouldn't do it
because he doesn't want the match to end yet. He wants...
Yeah, so he'd sit and kind of just play to the crowd.
And then when Jack got back up, Jack would know he's beat, but he would get hit by another super kick, go down.
And Ace would go to pin him, and Jack would kind of wave him off.
And like, he'd get up on his knees and go to, like, and shake Ace's hand.
Yeah,
like,
they get back up, they'd smile at each other because they're brothers, shake hands.
And then, as they're shaking hands, Ace would hit him with a super kick, pin him 1, 2, 3, win the championship. So the next episode, and assumingly the majority of the season, it's 6 episodes of the season, has a lot to do with, because of the end of this episode, which we'll get to, has a lot to do with Ace not wanting to be booed, not wanting to be seen as a heel.
He wants to be the good guy.
But what he just booked
was a heel ending.
Is a heel turn.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that you cheap shot your own brother after a handshake and a smile. There's no way you cheap shot him without becoming the bad guy.
Yeah.
Also, it should be mentioned that halfway through pitching this booking to Jack, Ace forgets what he's saying.
And Crystal continues on.
Because it's Crystal's booking, not Ace's.
In fact, literally, when Ace asks him what he thinks of his booking, Jack says, yours, I thought it was Crystal.
Yeah, that's later, but...
It's like right there.
Well, I mean, here he says...
Crystal says it's good, and Jack asks who she is.
Yeah.
And then he asks Jim what he thinks, and Jim says it feels like an in. Jack's like, yeah, it does. And Ace also agrees, and he's like, Ace is like, well, yeah, because if Bill likes it, I'm leaving, I'm out of here.
So, here's the thing. Ace is a moron.
Mm-hmm.
You can't book Ace to win the championship in a championship match if he's leaving after the show.
Yeah.
You can't... Everybody knows the rule. You can't let the champion walk out with the belt.
Nope, does not happen.
CM Punk tried it once. It was hilarious. I mean, it was kayfabe. But it was hilarious, and there's a really great promo. One of my favorite promos of all time.
Yes.
My second favorite promo of all time. My favorite promo... Sorry, I know I'm diverging, but you know my favorite promo.
I know, fucking dumb.
It's the Rick Steiner math one.
I know.
Maybe not Rick Steiner.
No, it's Steiner's math.
Yeah, Steiner's math. God, it's so good.
So Jack just tells him that the end's gonna stay as is. Ace storms off angry like always, and then Crystal follows behind him, and then Jim short leaves. And it's Willie and Jack talking. Willie's just like, Jake is assuring Willie that it's fine. Even if Ace goes, I'm still here, Jim's still here, we'll be fine. It's
and Willie's like, yeah, I'll repeat that like you mean it.
Yeah.
Outside, though, bunch of people already at the venue, tailgating, drinking, having a good time, waiting for the show waiting for the autograph signing to start, and then the show to start.
Yeah, we see booths and stuff, tables set up, people to come get signings, merch all set out. They have a really good merch selection for a local wrestling.
I think that's a thing now in 2021. I don't think it's a thing at our local wrestling venue because I haven't been there, but I think it's just
I know, I'm saying they have quite a lot. Like, they have a good selection.
In 2021, or even
merch is so easy to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's like before AEW, before like anything like that ever took off, Young Bucks was some of the first wrestling merch to end up in like Hot Topic and stores.
Yeah.
Because they were just making their own shit. But I digress. So we cut to Crystal and Ace out back behind the dome.
And Ace is just still bitching about how he's losing the match.
And Crystal's like, we should go out to celebrate tonight. Ace is like, celebrate what? Me losing the belt?
Yeah.
Like me losing the championship match? And she's like, no, celebrating you getting scouted? Are you really that moronic?
And then Wild Bill.
Yep. And he's like, Ace, hop in. And Ace goes, where are we going? Bill goes, away from here.
Yeah.
Which I think is supposed to be like, not just a literal away from here, but like a metaphorical away from here.
Yeah, probably.
Because they don't actually go away from there. They just pull around to the other side of the building.
Yeah. It seems also more like a we don't need her around type of situation.
Yeah. So they pull around, and Wild Bill pops some oxys and hands the bottle to Ace.
And Ace is just like, I can't take these. They'll fuck me up. And Bill's like, that's exactly why you're going to take them. They fuck you up.
And then Wild Bill starts going on a diatribe about how what he wants in the ring Ace wants in the ring tonight doesn't matter.
First off, he asks Ace who Crystal is, and Ace is like, she's just a valet. Bill's like, that's good. We can find you someone better, definitely tall.
Yeah, and then Wild Bill starts going on a diatribe. He's like, doesn't matter what Jack wants on the script tonight. What matters is your ability to adapt.
I want to see you do something good out there. I need to adapt, flexible. possible.
And then Wild Bill goes off on like a religious sermon about Jacob and Esau and how the younger brother always has to fight.
He goes off on that because Ace is just like, well, that's not up to me. That's Jack. He's the one that writes the script. And Bill's just like, I don't give a shit about the script. You fucking hate your brother, don't you?
Yeah,
it's always fated that way.
The younger brother always has to fight. The younger brother always has to fight for what he's owed anyways. And he turns into a whole bad lad. You need to teach Jack a lesson. And Ace is like, well, I could not show up to autographs.
And Bill's like, yeah, I guess that's one way. But you know what me and Tom did back in the day when someone was stepping out of line and needed to be shown what they needed to do? We made sure a few hits landed for real.
This is called shooting in wrestling. When somebody...
It's heavily frowned upon.
When somebody hits somebody for real...
On purpose.
That's called a shoot. A shoot is anything that's real that should be fake.
Yep.
So, like, if somebody cuts a promo and starts bringing in shit that's not part of the story...
That's a shoot.
That's a shoot.
Someone gets punched in the face when they weren't actually supposed to get punched in the face?
That's a shoot. Nia Jax wrestles somebody? That's a shoot.
I mean, I feel like any of your MMA wrestlers who have very little training coming to wrestling, all their matches are shoots for the most part.
Nia Jax isn't an MMA wrestler.
I know, but I was referring to when they have MMA. I think they briefly have.
See, my Nia Jax comment's a joke because I don't even keep up with wrestling nowadays, and I still know that every time Nia Jax has, like, it's not every time, but like multiple times a year, Nia Jax has a wrestling match and actually hurts somebody because she's so bad.
Or anytime Shane McMahon fights.
How is she still signed to WWE? Jesus Christ.
They have to have someone that makes Shane McMahon look like an actual wrestler.
McMahon is an actor.
I know, but I was mainly just referring to when he got started and really fuck shit. He got a lot of intentional shoots from people. Like, they straight up admitted Shane McMahon has gotten a lot of intentional shoots, really fucking shitty, but insisted on wrestling.
Yeah, Nia Jax is supposed to be an actual wrestler, though.
Yeah.
They only keep her. I don't want to say this because it sounds sexist, but they only keep her because she's really, really big for a woman.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like popular. I mean physically big.
Yeah.
Physically imposing women are rare in wrestling because
that's not what Vince McMahon likes.
Yeah, it's not what people in charge of wrestling think their audience. Yeah. So
this Bill and Ace scene ends with Bill suggesting that, he actually hits Jack for real, and, he loves it.
Yep. He also gives him a board, a 2x4.
Which apparently used to be a King Spade prop.
Yeah, like a thing that they used in their fights and stuff.
So then we see Jack, and he's climbing up a water tower to go talk to Big Jim.
Yeah, he's trying to rebook the ending to the Jack and Ace match now that he knows Ace. And so using the framework of
Flair versus Sting
and their championship match where Sting won and became champion for the first time, he's using this framework of that match where Sting broke kayfabe to be like, Flair is one of the
greatest wrestlers of this generation.
Yeah, one of the greatest wrestlers end all.
Yeah, because effectively in that, Sting is saying he couldn't go over nearly as well unless Flair was the heel that he was.
A face can only be as popular as the heel that they're up against.
And Jim catches on really fucking quick. He's like, you want me to turn heel?
Yeah, but he doesn't just want Jim to turn heel. He wants to do a double turn. What he wants is Ace is about to win the match. And Jim, who's jealous of the opportunity his friend Ace has gotten, comes rushing out to the ring.
And just lays the beat down on it.
Downs the ref so the ref can't DQ anybody. Lays the beat down on Ace. Pulls Jack over on top of Ace. Stands the ref back up. Points the ref to the pinfall. And they get a 1-2-3 count. Jack wins because Big Jim turns heel. But like...
Jack is upset though because Ace is legitimately beat the shit out of, which is why he wouldn't be coming back and off. And he's upset because he won the match, but that's his little brother.
So he gets up and like he goes to attack Jim because he's trying to defend his brother. So it's a double turn. It turns Big Jim into a heel. It turns Jack Spade into a face, and it lets Ace walk out of the company no strings.
Yeah, but Jim has a bit of a problem.
Yeah, Jim's wife wants him to quit. He says retire, but
and also though Jim doesn't like being booed.
Yeah, I don't want people to boo me. And then Jack's
just like, I don't know what's up with you kids nowadays.
I like playing a good man. Walking around town pretending to be a better man helps me actually be a better man.
Which honestly, I can actually get on board with that, and I can understand that. Like, not a bad reasoning. But even at the end of this, Jim's like, but my wife, she wants me to quit. The baby's on the way soon, and she's really scared of this entire thing. And if I quit, I can pick up some more shifts at work, maybe even be a manager one day. But Jack, if you still need me to turn heel at the end of the night, I can do that. I don't mind.
Yeah, he's like, I need to pick up more shifts. The baby's on its way. My wife thinks it's dangerous. Which, I mean, okay, so wrestling is dangerous. I don't want to like undersell wrestling being dangerous. People break bones, break necks, tear bones.
But it's not as dangerous as some people think.
Fall to their death because McMahon can't afford actual rigging because he's a cheapskate
he
bastard.
can. He just doesn't want.
Talking about Owen Hart there.
Yeah.
But like shit happened and people get hurt. but that's true no matter where you work. Although Justice and I had this conversation while we were watching the episode again, I don't know how wrestlers can have 30-year careers and still like walk.
Just because the blows they do take, because yeah, you're not hitting with that elbow, but you are landing all of your weight on your hip repeatedly or whatever, depending on what your moves are. You're putting a lot of stress on certain parts of your body repeatedly.
Every suplex you do is you dropping your body weight onto your back.
On your lower back,
your
tailbone, yeah, or your
every
chest.
time you drop a leg drop, that's your tailbone eating that shot.
Tailbone and thigh, baby.
Every time you elbow drop, that's your hip and thigh.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you choke slam, that's your arm, like,
and your back being strained. Like, that's an easy way to slip a disc.
Every time you do a moonsault, a whisper in the wind, a front flip,
that's your forearms, legs, lower legs taken.
Yeah, like, it's just repeated high impact injuries, and like, even though it's not like enough to hurt you when you do it once, repetitive injuries of the same variety, destroy the human body.
That's why a lot of broken bones from wrestlers don't come all at once. They actually build up stress fractures,
or they are all at once because it's like somebody fucked up.
Yeah,
somebody messed up a DDT.
I said most.
Somebody messed up a cutter.
Anyways, though, Jack eventually just tells him, nah. If you're retiring off this, you don't need to be a heel. You can go out of face. You can do that. That'll be fine. You don't need to turn heel for me on that.
Yeah, if this is the night you're going out, you gotta go out stay in a face. Yeah. Like,
and Jim's like, okay, but can we not tell Ace? I don't want to get all up in his head and mess him up. You know how Ace gets. I want this to be a good night.
Yep. So we then cut to Jack back in his office, and Ace, after blowing off autographs, comes to confront Jack.
And Ace wants to win. He thinks his Indian's good, and this is where Jack asks,
like,
"Oh, it's your Indian? I thought it was Chris."
Yeah, and they also, like, during this moment, Ace is like, "Look, Dad started this whole thing. You're the champion now. I just want my picture to be on that wall of champions with you and Dad. Why can't I get that? Why don't I deserve that?"
And Jack's just like, "If you want that, you gotta stay here." And Ace is just like, "If I get big, I'll come back and I'll help out." And Jack's, "No, you won't."
Ace's first thing is like, who's gonna pass up an opportunity like this? Or why aren't you happy for me? If I get big, I'll come back.
Yeah, and Jack's like, "I'd pass up. Also, you're not coming back. Not until I have to bring your body back here to bury you."
Mm-hmm. And then Ace goes, "Look, I'm just trying to figure out who's for me and who's against me right now. And don't tell me you're against me." And this is the best turnaround as fair play I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah, and Jack's just like, "Well, what about everything I'm trying to build here? Trying to rebuild this up? I need to know who's for me or against me.
And if you're leaving,
are you for me then?"
And Ace is like, "That's not fair. It's not the same thing." And you know what? He's wrong. It is the same thing.
Yeah.
I would not blame somebody for taking their opportunity to like
leave, but I could also just be like, "Yeah, that's still fucking shit for me. You have to understand. This does suck for me.
It hurts everything we're doing here. You leaving, like, as good as it is for you, it's terrible for us."
And then he complains because, well, Dad left you all this. Where do I fit in? You're the one in control of everything. But Ace doesn't have the right to be upset about that if he has no stake in the family business.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as Jack points out, Jack's the one here doing all the work, keeping everything up and running, and Ace doesn't fucking do shit.
Ace tries to says it's because he's a control freak, but like the amount of like work Willie's allowed to do and like Willie does do, like speaks volumes against what Ace is saying. Like,
yeah,
Jack might have like a control freak for the script and the story, but it's because
he's the one that knows how to fucking do that. He's put years in doing that. And Ace's writing is never the way Ace talks about it. It's not that, well, this is a better booking. It's just, well, I don't lose in this booking, so that makes it better.
I think the big thing is Ace doesn't like understand long-term booking.
He doesn't. No.
He like, this is cool, right? And like, yeah, this is cool, right? Is a way to write. WWE sure's done it a few times.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you the story impact of a long-term show.
Yeah. But basically, this argument ends with another great exchange, and it's
honestly, this part of this one conversation could be a 30-minute discussion on its own.
Mm-hmm.
It was 90% of my selling point to get Justice to watch this show originally.
So Ace kind of points toward parking lot where all the fans are to do signs. He's like, "They're cheering for me."
And Jack goes, "No, they're cheering for a character I wrote.
I created."
Yeah, I created.
And then Ace kind of just shoves him and heads off to do his sign.
No, Ace goes and says, "I am that. I am that character."
Yeah.
And then they get into a little bit more of an argument, and then Ace shoves Jack and storms off to go do his autograph. But like,
he goes off to do a sign, and we see him out there. Crystal goes to approach him. He ignores her. She walks off sad.
But like, the whole dichotomy of, is the creator or the actor the one responsible for a character, is such like a discussion worthy topic. Like, who really should get credit for
creator writer? I feel like an actor can definitely lend a lot to it, but arguably, if what you like is the character.
Okay, but would I like Neil Caffrey as much if Matt Bomer didn't play him?
Maybe not, but I think you would still like Neil Caffrey. I also don't think you would like Matt Bomer nearly as much if he hadn't played Neil Caffrey.
That's a true fact. Like
if you'd only ever seen Matt Bomer in like Magic Mike, a few other roles.
I've never seen.
I just know he's in that. I couldn't think else. Okay.
But yeah, like, no, that's a really good. Like, there is an argument that
do I think a lot of people like RDJ as much as they do if he wasn't Tony Stark? No. Would I still like him? Yes, because I think he's done great work in things. Like, my favorite RDJ RDJ movie. It's none
The
of the
Judge.
Marvels. It's The Judge.
God
The Judge is
damn it.
fucking fantastic.
Go
watch
watch
The Judge. But I think RDJ is a good actor, so I do like him. I liked him before Marvel. But I would still like their Tony Stark as written if someone else played him.
And played him as well.
Yes.
Like, I think the actor does matter to a character, right? Like, obviously...
They add a depth, but I think the majority of what you like there is what's written.
Obviously, Jack Sparrow wouldn't be as iconic if it wasn't Johnny Depp. But on the flip side of it, Johnny Depp didn't make Jack Sparrow.
No.
I mean, he gave him a lot of the little quirks and stuff that people fell in love with, but the writers did a lot of that work.
Mm-hmm.
They did a lot of the heavy lifting that made Jack Sparrow.
A good actor, so say we both have...
A good actor elevates the character.
Well, what I was going to say is, say we have a good actor and a good writer. Neither of them are judgmental, they're both at a good equal level. The writer has made a good character. You will enjoy that character. What that actor does there is he elevates the character because he makes that character feel lived in. He makes that character feel like a person.
I think the best
adding the small takes.
I think the best example of this, Ryan Reynolds is a good actor, right?
Yeah.
Was Green Lantern a good character?
Oh, God,
Did you enjoy that role?
God.
Yeah. The writer makes the character. The actor can elevate it and like give it a depth that the writer didn't have for it.
But the writer makes.
And I think that's true except for bit parts that become major parts of television shows.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Gibby, the actor made Gibby
in
iCarly, if you didn't know what I was talking about. I mean, I know you did, but the audience.
But yeah, so that's our opinion on that. So then we cut back to the other guys in the locker room. Again, they're just kind of fucking around, talking shit. And we see Crystal trying to do her eye makeup at Ace's locker. And Willie walks up and Willie's just like, "What the fuck are you doing? I told you locker rooms for wrestlers."
Yep. They get into a little bit of spat here because Crystal's like, "I can wrestle." And then Willie goes, "I belong here, you don't. Get that through your head."
Take that as the compliment it is.
So Ace then goes outside.
Snorts some oxys.
And Jack turns back to Willie, who's now upstairs in his office.
Well, first he snorts the oxys. Bill shows up and hands him the 2x4 and says, "Long live the king."
Yeah. And Jack then back in Jack's office, Jack turns and asks Willie, "What would you do if you didn't stage manage for DWL?" She says,
"Tournament fishing.
Tournament bass."
Yeah. And then
I love how fast her answer is, though. Because, like, a lot of people be like, "What would you do if you weren't doing this?" People have to stop and think.
Yeah.
She's just like, "Tournament bass fish."
And then she asks Jack if he wants to go talk to guys. So they head off down there.
But
and
Bill has already beat him to it.
Yeah.
And Bill's speech is from an era.
Yeah.
It's talking about...
It's go out there, tear shit up, make them love it, then get fucking done as quick as possible so we can go out and drink.
Yeah, it's from an era.
And he sees Jack. He's like, "Oh, Jack, do you want to add anything?" And you can tell Jack's fucking annoyed and pissed, but he's just like, "Nah," turns around and walks off.
Yeah, because this isn't Wild Bill's job. Wild Bill's job was never to do the locker room speech shit.
No, Wild Bill, as a fucking scout, what he should be doing there is talking to Ace, not in the back room, unless he's been invited back there. Other than that, fucking out in the stands, watching the fucking matches, that's your job.
So, we then get a montage of the night's matches set to Anyone Who Knows What Love Is by Irma Thomas.
Fucking Soul Queen of New Orleans, baby. She was
the song is
great.
Beautiful.
Jazz and blues, fucking perfect.
And it doesn't feel like it should go with this montage. Like,
But
I would have never, like, thought, and this isn't just a writer choice at this point, but, like, whoever thought to set this montage to Anyone Who Knows What Love Is, fucking genius, because this does not look like a thing that should go together.
But it does.
And you know,
especially with the warm, mellow lights, the yellow lighting that they use for their ring lights.
So here's the thing. I say that, but as a wrestling fan, I can sit here and be like, this makes so much sense from a backstage perspective.
Yeah.
Because, like, none of these guys are getting paid. Like, they're making $50, maybe. But, like, they're not doing this because they're getting money. They're doing this because they want, like, they love the show.
Yeah.
Because as much of a dick as Bill was being, this is a hobby, a passion hobby. This is a cathedral built towards a passion. And these guys who are doing it because they love it, not because they're trying to make a living.
In this montage, we see a bunch of people wrestling. We see Crystal doing her eye makeup, Ace doing his eye makeup in the locker room. And then we kind of, in that montage, when we see Stacy walk into the back stage area.
Well, before that, we get a cut of Jack, like, putting the belt on.
Yeah.
And, like, getting all of his gear ready.
And then Stacy walks up.
And, yeah, Stacy comes backstage to both wish him good luck, like, and then she's also like,
also how those GoPros.
Because our phones share alerts whenever we spend money. I told you that.
Remember that app? I installed it on your phone.
So, yeah, basically this boils down to the same discussion as the fog machines. Hey, I get you're just trying to invest in the wrestling, but, like...
Fucking tell me about it, man.
We need to talk about expenses. Yeah. Like, can't just go doing what we want.
But that's basically into that. We see Jim win his Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
He has some dope-ass fucking music.
Yep. And then Stacy kind of notices that Jack is off. Like,
yeah.
And she goes...
That's your cue, right? What's the finish? And his reply is, finish doesn't matter.
It isn't real.
Yep.
Which, if you're the writer for the show, that's such a disillusioned take to have. But Jesus Christ. Anyways, Jack and Ace...
We see Crystal ask Ace before he heads out and get ready to the stage area, the pre-stage. And she asks Ace if he's taking her with her, and he doesn't even acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm. And then we get to Gorilla, which is a term that we haven't hit yet, but Gorilla position is right outside of, like, the stage ramp where audience can see you. It's where people get ready to enter the ring.
Yeah.
It's where
you most of the time can see the ring or the ramp area that's going on.
Yep, it's called Gorilla. Not like the monkey, but like the warfare.
Yeah. So Ace and Jack are standing next to each other, and Ace says, "Fuck the belt." belt. He's going to leave. It doesn't matter.
I've
Jack,
already won.
yeah.
Like, I don't need to win the match.
Jack can stay here in Duffy in the wrestling league until he kills himself like their dad.
And then they get into a physical altercation.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say an actual
turns,
fight.
Jack just like turns around. It's hard. It looks like his hands are wrapped around his collarbone more than his throat.
A little bit, yeah.
And they're pushing on each other. And then Jim just comes stumbling.
Well, Apocalypse breaks him up.
Oh, yeah. Apocalypse breaks them up real quick. And then Jim runs back. He's just happy, kind of afterglow of the match. Crowd responding to him really great. He had a great last night there. Wraps them both up in a hug. He's just like, I love you guys.
Yep. So Jack goes out to the ring.
He also has some great music.
And then Ace enters. And Ace pops. He has the plank of wood from Tom Spade and Wild Bill.
Crowd are loving it.
Yep. Before the match has even started, though, the music's cut, but the match hasn't really started. Ace is still showing in the crowd. Jack runs up behind him, hits him with a German suplex, grabs his arm, and puts him into an arm-wrenching armbar, knee in the middle of the back, and he's legitimately twerking it. It's not like a rest hold, which is what a submission usually is. Rest hold being where you're not actually wrestling, you're using it to like get your breath between moves.
Yeah, and pretend to wrench it. But he's actually wrenching here, applying pressure, and that's just like,
you're actually hurting him, Jack. You need to back
you're
off.
gonna break his arm, and Jack's like, I know.
Call the match.
You're gonna have to
He's
call
gonna
it.
have to tap out. And Ace eventually taps. The ref calls the match, and Jack gets up and grabs the belt, and that's the match over. It's like over in
Ace is literally screaming in pain.
It's like over in like 15 seconds, maybe. And like at this point, the audience is booing Jack. Like
no. At this point, the audience dead fuck silent.
But yeah,
and then they start to boo. But there's like a good 10 seconds of just audience silence.
Well, yeah, because like this does subvert expectations. This is like the fucking no sell swerve. Like,
and then they start to boo Jack. Ace gets up to his feet. They're still booing Jack, and then Ace just cold cocks Jack right in the face, knocks him over the rope, and then the crowd starts to boo Ace
because you can't do that and maintain and be a face. Honestly, I didn't realize this the first 2 times I watched this episode, but this moment, Wild Bill said he was looking for one thing: adaptability, the ability to adapt and tell your story in the ring, regardless of what else happens.
Which Ace does not have here.
Yeah, because Jack gave Ace a swerve ball, and like Jack wasn't trying to give Ace a swerve ball. He wasn't trying to set Ace up to do anything, but Ace had an opportunity here. He could have grabbed a mic, cut a promo, challenged Jack to an immediate rematch.
Done a number of many things. Also, I'd like to point out, this is the Chekhov gun I mentioned earlier, where Jack said to Willie, when talking about his dad's finisher, that he didn't think tap outs looked real. Yep. And then that's what he used to beat Brother.
Yep, so with the audience booing him and throwing shit at him, drinks and popcorn and shit, Ace drops to his knees and literally cries in the ring.
And our episode ends with Jack turning around and walking towards the back.
You want to take your final take on episode 1?
Yeah, so personally, as a person that's not really a big wrestling fan, I used to be, but not so much anymore. I do still know all the terms. I know all of it, but I'm fucking down with this show. It does a really good job of representing the individuals outside of the ring and in the back where there's legitimate camaraderie and they're all friends and they're having a good time, opposed to kayfabe and how they're handling in the ring work. Definitely more dramatized with what's going on in their personal lives, but it strikes a really good balance between in the ring and out of the ring character work, and both for the actual characters they present and then the character they play show as well. And yeah, I'm definitely down to watch more. It has a good feel for what it's trying to do.
Okay, so I will admit I watched this show specifically because of 2 reasons. One, Stephen Amell. I love both him and his cousin Robbie. They're great actors and I enjoy most of everything I've seen them in, but also because it was wrestling. Stephen Amell is an actual wrestler. He's wrestled in AEW, done multiple shows with them.
Yep.
And he's legitimately like a trained wrestler. He's just as good in the ring as he is as an actor. Maybe not quite true. He's competent in the ring. He's a great actor. And like a show featuring a guy who actually knows wrestling and like enjoys wrestling, playing a lead role as a wrestler, I was sold on the concept alone. But the way the show handles everything and the conflicts between like creator and character and like how do you book a show in such a way to like get fans coming back, all this shit is just like, I don't know, it's everything I want out of a show about wrestling. So good.
Yeah. Would you watch episode 2? Because I know I would.
I would watch episode 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
Which is the entire first season.
Yeah.
So
episode 2. So episode 2, Dusty Finish. Yeah, we're not gonna do that.
That will be on September 3rd.
Because if you didn't notice, Josh really likes wrestling,
and this is already an hour and 40 minutes of raw cut before we start editing.
So it's gonna be a pretty big chunk. Episode 2 for this part 2 will be up
the very next day.
Will be up
3rd.
on September 3rd.
So you'll get 2 episodes this week.
Yay!
Probably 2.5 hours of me talking about wrestling,
and about 3-4 hours of me editing, hating life. I'm talking about editing worth of audio. Not trying to put in, that's going to be more.
So before we sign off for this episode and set you up for episode 2, I did want to say we got another review on iTunes, 5 stars. Like I said, we will read those out.
Yeah.
This is from Henry Cunningham.
It's been a bit. We forget to check for some,
And
but thank you.
Henry Cunningham says, great energy. I'll take that compliment. I've been listening to the Copilots for a while now. They have amazing energy and are super funny. Check them out. So you should follow Henry's advice and check us out.
Which, if you're hearing this, you already followed his advice, so good on you.
But how can they check us out? Where can they find us?
Well, you can find us and links to all of our other stuff at our website, copilotsreview.simplecast.com, which has a link for our email,
which is copilotsreview@gmail.com.
It also has a link to our Twitter, which is at copilotsreview.
And a link to our Discord, which, again, Discord links are kind of wacky. So
the Discord has a bunch of spots where you can just
hang
jump
out,
in, talk about stuff, talk about whatever. And we also have a link to our YouTube, which is kind of not caught up because some of us get annoyed at drawing thumbnails.
I told you didn't have to do custom thumbnails for every episode, man.
Yeah, I'm probably just going to upload them all and then go back to thumbnails.
That seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you for flying with us. Episode 2 will be up tomorrow. Sorry for this. This episode just ran insanely late, partially because I'm a huge wrestling fan, but also I think because this show is very good and has a lot of good moments to talk about.
Yeah, so we apologize for the temporary layover here, but you will be reaching your destination tomorrow.
Thank you for flying with us.
Please fly again soon.